Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Book Nerd Nails. Today's video, I want to do something a little bit different and attempt to do press-on nails. This is something I've never done before, but I'm super excited to try instead of my usual Gel X nails. We're still sticking with the book-inspired nails, but today we're going to start a new series, which is the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros. Now, if you don't know, the first book in this series is the viral Fourth Wing. The second book is Iron Flame, and the third is Onyx Storm. But today we're just going to focus on the Fourth Wing. This has been one of my favorite fantasy romances to date. I absolutely fell in love with this series. Of course, it went viral online, and everybody was obsessed with it. So, of course, I had to try it too. But I didn't realize just how much I would love this series. I think Rebecca Yarros does a fantastic job with her characters and her world building and really drawing the reader into this story. As you can see here, I'm just putting my nails onto my nail stand. I've got these nail stands off of Amazon, and they were very inexpensive, but they are so beautiful. They have this iridescent stand that they go on, and the little pieces that hold the nail are actually covered in glitter. I will link those down in my description at the end of this video so you can check them out if you want. This is not sponsored in any way. I just really fell in love with this little set that I got. As you can see, I'm just putting my nail tips onto the nail stands using a pack of Tack It that came with the nail stands, which is just like a gummy removable adhesive. I've heard a lot of people use the nail stickers, and that works really well. This is just what it came with, so this is how I'm going to try it first. I do recommend centering the nails on the nail stand. I put mine a little bit more towards the end and had a lot of issues with the nail moving. So I do recommend moving your nail tips to the middle of your nail stand instead of the end. Now I'm just buffing that shiny layer off of the nail tips and going over the shape of the nail. Even though these nail tips come in a box, for some reason they have little pieces of tabs still left. I'm not sure why that is, but I'm just cleaning the nails up, making sure everything is even and smooth before we start our design process. These are short almond full cover matte tips. Again, got these off of Amazon. I got a whole box of like 500 pieces, and again, they were very inexpensive. I can link those too in the description. Now I'm just going to dust off any of the dust and residue from filing those nails down and buffing them, just making sure everything's nice and even and ready for the next step. I'm going to go in with my Morovin primer. I also got this off of Amazon. It comes in a set with a dehydrator. I saw a lot of people do press-ons, and they used a primer on the nail first before they go in with a builder gel or any of their gel polishes. I just did a quick coat over all of the nails on both sets. Made sure everything was nice and even, and then let this dry before I moved on. Then I go in with my Melody Sue builder gel, and I did 2 coats on each of these nails. This just adds a little stability to the nails. I mean, usually when I use them, I'm doing it as a Gel X set, so I don't have to worry about the stability as much, but I did want to make sure that these were done the right way, and from what I've seen online, this is how most people do it. I did cure in between each coat for these. I painted 1 coat, then cured under the lamp for 60 seconds, did a second coat, and then again cured for another 60 seconds. For the theme of these nails, I kind of just went with some of my favorite things from Fourth Wing. A few of these are going to have a dragon skin or a snake skin texture. This nail in particular will be my thumb, and I go in with this light gray. and later on a black. I'm also going to use the bubble method to get this texture on this nail because I want this to be kind of Terran themed. But first I want to talk a little bit about the book while I'm painting my nails. So first, Fourth Wing is the first book in the Empyrean series. There are 3 books currently. Again, they are Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. The next book is set to come out, I think, next year, and it will be named Silver Throne, if I'm not mistaken. I'm super excited for that. I know Onyx Storm left everybody on a huge cliffhanger, and we are all awaiting this next book very impatiently. There's a few key characters in Fourth Wing. First introduced is Violet. Her name is Violet Sorrengail. Now, Violet has a very weak and frail body that often fails her, but she is very resilient and strong-minded and so fearless that it just kind of draws you into her. She's described as very beautiful, but very small and fragile, and she has this weird thing with her hair where it starts off brown and then it fades into silver. The story starts off that Violet is at the age that she can participate in what they call Conscription Day. Now, this is a day when all of the kids that are of age, I believe it's about 19 or 20, are able to pick 4 quadrants to enter. And this is all at Bagscath War College. The college is separated into 4 quadrants, which are the scribes, the healers, the infantry, and the riders. Each student is required to select a quadrant that they would like to enter, and then upon that pass an exam or whatever it is they're supposed to do. It doesn't really get into the other quadrants, just the one Violet's going after. Now, Violet's dad was a scribe and her mother is a rider. Everybody assumed that Violet would go into the scribe quadrant because that is what her dad did, and Violet is very educated on the history. They also assumed this because of her frail body and that she would not enter any of the other quadrants. Her mother, who is the general at Bagscath War College, had a different idea for Violet and instead pushes her to enter the Riders Quadrant. The Riders Quadrant is unlike any other because this is where people go and train to ride dragons. Now, not everybody makes it through this war college, especially in the Riders Quadrant. The dragons are very dangerous and they're very temperamental, and the test to get in is very rigorous, and everything that they have to go through is wild. So Violet goes to her conscription day, and they have to cross something called a parpet to enter the actual Riders Quadrant. Now, this is a very, very narrow stone bridge with no ropes or handles, anything to hold on to. It is over this great ravine, and it leads from one side to the other, which is the Riders Quadrant. Violet also meets another first year named Rihanna just before she gets on the parpet. Now, these two form a very quick and strong bond, and it is a beautiful friendship to witness. Rihanna is very strong and very fearless and so brave, but she is just one of the best characters in this book. And I'm so happy that Violet has a person like this to back her up the way she does. Now, the parpet is very dangerous, and Violet sees all kinds of people fall off of it and pass away, and she's very scared. But then, when she gets to the end, she meets somebody named Xaden Ryerson. Now, if you've read Fourth Wing, you'll know the obsession with Xaden Ryerson and his shadows. These two do not hit it off. It is not love at first sight. It may have been for Xaden, that has not been talked about yet. But they do not hit it off. They are very unfriendly with each other. And Violet has no idea why Xaden hates her so much early on. Xaden is described as very tall and tan and dark hair and dark eyes and just overall gorgeous. He is also one of the most powerful riders to enter the quadrant. Also, a little backstory about Xaden. He is the son of a man who betrayed Bagscath early on. He and his fellow comrades are considered the marked ones, and Violet is warned very on not to trust them. This also enters in Dane, which is Violet's best friend growing up. He is a year older, so he's already been through the first year of the Riders Quadrant, and he has bonded a dragon. He is very upset to see Violet there on conscription day, and he tries multiple times to get her to leave, talking about how frail she is and how small and breakable and vulnerable, and really just brings her down, which breaks Violet's heart because she was in love with Dane very early on. During their time at Bagscath, the riders are trained in combat and dragons and even magic. Now, usually after a rider bonds their dragon, they will start to develop magic, which is a connection with their dragon and magic that they can siphon from their dragon. This, of course, is what everybody's excited for, but they don't realize the dangers that come with it. There are several people here at the college that do not like Violet because of who her mother is, and they make it known very early on that they don't want her there. Violet decides to power through it, and oftentimes during trainings or sparring matches, she plays smarter, not harder, and she decides to poison her fellow classmates that she's going to have go up against. Now, she gets this advice from Xaden, sorta. The cadets are also required to participate in something called the Gauntlet. Think of a giant obstacle course up the side of a mountain. And there's no guarantee that you will survive. There's no safety nets for these cadets. This is to prove how strong they can be. Now, Violet, while her body is very weak, her mind is very sharp. So, while she might not do things the way other people do, she finds a way that works for her. But this also shows her resilience and strength throughout the book. After the Gauntlet, if they survive, they get to move on to threshing. Now, this is when the cadets are dropped off in a wooded area and the dragons are released. Now, these are dragons that want to bond because it's not up to the human, it's up to the dragon. There's only so many dragons willing to bond that year and only so many cadets. There will not be enough dragons for all the cadets. So it is a race against time to find your dragon. While Violet is out exploring the woods and trying to hide from certain members, such as Jack Barlow. I didn't mention him earlier, but he is an awful human being in this story. He is very violent and just disgusting. He is hunting Violet down, him and his group of friends, during threshing. When Violet sees something glowing in the distance, and she decides to sneak through the trees to find out what it is. What she comes across blows her mind. There is a small gold dragon sitting on the hill, with several members of Jack Barlow's group trying to harm it. The reason they want rid of this dragon is because she is a feather tail, which means that she is a baby dragon and she is not old enough to bond yet. So they want rid of her. They don't want her there. Violet comes up on this and decides to take action and starts to fight with 3 members of this group. Now, these are big guys up against little Violet, but she everything in her might to fight these guys off and to save this dragon. During this whole ordeal, another dragon drops down, and he is a great big black dragon that towers over everything and blocks the sun. He sees this interaction and decides to protect the gold dragon. During this time, Violet is injured, and she hears the black dragon in her head telling her to save herself. And this is where we're introduced to Terran. I think his full name and how you pronounce it is Terranok. Please do not come for me if I didn't say that right. I apologize. During this time, he tells Violet that he has bonded to her because of her bravery and sacrifice for the gold dragon. This comes as a surprise to everybody because he is one of the oldest and biggest dragons there is, and everybody wanted him. But Violet, the small frail girl, somehow got him. Not only that, the gold dragon also decided she wanted to bond Violet. So Violet has to announce to everybody that she's bonded to not the biggest black dragon, but also a gold feather tail. Nobody has ever heard of a person being bonded to two dragons, and this causes an uproar in the college. This also causes many threats to Violet's life as she's trying to navigate what to do. She didn't think she would bond with one dragon at all, but to be bonded to two is crazy. And while there's much debate on whether Violet can bond two dragons, Taran makes it widely known that humans do not control dragons and that they are in charge, and that he would back Andarna 100%. I absolutely loved Taran and Andarna in this series. They were so cute. Taran is like this grumpy old man who's always mad and takes no crap from anybody. And Andarna is all rainbows and sunshine and very sassy little girl. Now, Taran is also bonded to Sigil. I hope I said that right. She is a blue dragon with almost like ice spikes on her tail. Taran is a black morning star. He has this big mace-like ball on the end of his tail. But Sigil and Taran are mated, and can you guess who Sigil's rider is? Xaden Ryerson. Now, this really throws Violet and Xaden into this whirlwind together because Taran and Sigil cannot be apart. That also means that Xaden and Violet's lives depend on each other. I really loved this little tidbit that just pulls them together when they don't want to be. It just makes it 10 times better. Now, Sigil has claimed Andarna as her own, almost like her own child, even though Andarna's not hers, and it's kind of why she pushed Taran to bond with Violet in this way. Now, another thing that happens in this story is as they learn to work with their dragons and fly, there's also a lot of secrets coming out and deception, and Violet starts putting things together, things that aren't making sense, like why dragons are being attacked or why other outposts are being burned down when dragons don't usually attack there. Now it starts to slowly come out that another creature has evolved and come out, and they are called wyvern. And the way to tell a wyvern from a dragon is that a wyvern only has 2 legs while a dragon has 4. They also shoot different colors of fire than a dragon does. And they do not have riders. They are controlled by something called venin. And Violet finds this out pretty late in the book, that these creatures exist. These are ones she only thought were in fairy tales that her dad used to tell her for bedtime stories, and she starts to get very angry that they have been lied to for so long. Now, Xaden knows that these creatures exist, and he's trying to protect people outside of Bagscath, because Bagscath wants nobody to know that venin and wyvern are real. They're trying to keep things underfoot, and they don't want anybody to know. I also want to point out a little tidbit that I've learned recently, and that's that Sigil literally translates in Gaelic to shadows. Now, Xaden is her rider, and he controls shadows. That is his power. The first one that we know of. The second is that Taranok translates into thunder. And can you guess what Violet's power becomes? It's lightning. She is the newest lightning wielder, something they haven't seen in hundreds of years. And people are thrilled, but really nervous on how such a small person can control so much power. Now, people start to see Xaden and Violet as a threat because they are 2 of the most powerful, and they have the most powerful dragons as well. There's also a lot of secrets between the dragons. They don't like to tell humans their business or their history, and they're very closed off. The Empyrean, which is the group of dragons, they are also not happy that Violet has bonded not one but two dragons, especially the second being Andarna, because she is still considered a child in their eyes. But because Violet bonds two dragons, that also means that she requires two powers. Now, Andarna's is a little different because she's still very young, but she gives Violet the ability to stop time, or Andarna herself uses it in situations where Violet needs her help, because throughout this series, Violet's life is threatened multiple times. It is also closer to the end of this series that Violet and Xaden really start to get a connection and fall in love with each other. Now, their relationship is kept secretive for a while. They don't want anybody to know that they're together because of Xaden's history and his family's history and the way Violet's mother can be. There are so many more amazing characters in this story, such as Violet's sister. Her name is Mira Sorrengill, and her best friend Rihanna, her friend Riddick, and Sawyer. There's just so many amazing characters in this story, and I don't have time to tell you all about them, so I highly recommend that you check out Fourth Wing or the Empyrean series. I promise you will love it if you are into fantasy romance and you really love adventure and world building that doesn't take too long to get through. I think she did an amazing job with this series. Again, it is one of my favorites so far. The nails I've done are completed and I really fell in love with them. Now I'm going to start to apply them. Since I did a press-on set, I did a bunch of research on glue, and one that I found that everybody loved was Beauty Secrets. You can get it at Sally's. You can also order it off Amazon. It is cheaper at Sally's to buy. I'm also kind of doing an experiment with my nails. Some people said to use dehydrator and primer, and some people said to just use dehydrator. So I'm using dehydrator and primer on my right hand and just dehydrator on my left, and we're going to see how long these nails last. I will give an update video here in the next week or two just to see how they hold up. For these nails, I decided to do a Terran inspired one on my thumb, as you can see, with the black dragon scales and the gold eye. I also did some lightning and some gold flakes to kind of represent Andarna. I also did a blue dragon scale to represent Sigil. I kind of just wanted to I also did shadows to represent Xaden on my right hand. I kind of just took all my favorite parts and put them together. I hope you really enjoyed this video and listening to me talk about Fourth Wing. If you have not read it, I recommend that you check it out. But that is all for today, and thank you so much for watching till the end. You can also check me out on TikTok, Instagram, and now Facebook. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment the next book series I should do down below. Thanks for joining me. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.